Hey everyone. So I've seen that a lot of you are enjoying the vlogs that I've been uploading about my experience living and working in Africa, and to the extent that my vlog about my apartment in Nairobi, Kenya now is the most viewed video on this channel, which is very, very interesting and wild to me. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for all the views. And if you like what you're seeing, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Don't just watch and then hop off, right? Because there's plenty more to come with that. But yeah, I've been watching the numbers skyrocket on that video. And so I was like, maybe I should give even more videos from my time working abroad in both Kenya. You saw my vlog about doing a conference in South Africa. And now I'm going to post a video about my time visiting Ethiopia. And then also just learning how to balance enjoyment. So just finding time for myself and to build community and to find out where I can like explore my different interests personally outside of work while I was living in on the continent of Africa. And as I was going through the videos, I noticed that I didn't have any like confessionals or like me like talking into the camera about how I was feeling that day, or just going over just like thoughts like I have for the other videos that I posted already. So that's why I'm filming this. So this is real time me shown talking to you. And what I was gonna do, which I thought might be a little bit interesting, is because it's been over a year now since I first moved to Kenya, and that I started living on the continent. Haven't moved back yet because of life changes and world situations that happened. So I thought what might be interesting is for me to go back and do like a real time reaction to me watching myself experiencing all of those new different environments and exploring different parts of Africa, stories of Africa that to some extent I knew, but I didn't know the full extent. And give you my real time reaction now, a year later, and just reacting to like what that experience meant to me now in the future shown. Again, don't forget to like all my videos that you clearly are watching. So like all the videos, please subscribe to this channel. I would love for you to continue to be a part of this journey with me, not just retroactively reflecting on how much I enjoyed living on the continent of Africa and how passionate I am about the continent of Africa. But then also like now, once you've seen like, behind the scenes, like what it was like for me to live there, just hearing my thoughts and sharing my thoughts with you about what's next, after I've explored each country and learned different things about the history and what's going on currently there, like what's my next steps and what are my next goals. And maybe these are things that you're also thinking about if you're potentially thinking about moving to Africa because you're watching my videos. So I want to be able to give you some candid and some real-time advice on how to make your journey solid and how to start planning for when maybe the world opens up again and we can finally all move freely, in terms of flying back and forth and, move repatriating to another country. So again, please like, subscribe to this channel. And also don't forget to hit the notification bell, because I noticed that even with like videos that I'm subscribed to, if I don't hit the notification bell, when I go to my explore page or the home page for YouTube, it's not always showing me the videos for channels that I actually really do want to know when there's a new video coming up, right? Unless I have the notification. When I have the notification, then it does pop up there. So if you're enjoying the videos like the one that I did about my apartment in Nairobi, Kenya, and just like all the experiences that I had during my journey living on the continent of Africa, you do want to hit the bell notification symbol so that when you log onto YouTube, you'll automatically see any new videos that I post to my channel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch the videos that I recorded about my experience in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, which was a very, very interesting trip. It was only a few days, unfortunately, but I got to do a lot in the few days that I was there. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I was there for 3 days, and it was part work, but it was also part visiting my family. So I have a beloved uncle. I call him my uncle. He used to work for my grandfather, who, if you read my bio on my website, or if you have followed me on social media, you know that my grandfather was a diplomat for the Nigerian government before he retired. And so who I call my uncle used to work for him, and then gradually became the ambassador to Ethiopia for the Nigerian government as well. So I went to go see him. It was my first time seeing him in a very, very, very long time. So that was nice. Got to see him and my aunt, his wife. And so I was visiting them while also just exploring and getting to know the country of Ethiopia, which, if you watched my South Africa video, you know that I was so excited to finally go to South Africa. It was something I said that I've been dreaming about doing for such a long time. Ethiopia was like literally next on the list. So it was South Africa, then was Ethiopia, literally on that list of countries that I desperately wanted to go see during my time in Africa. So I was so excited and privileged to be able to both spend time with my uncle and then also get to explore and learn more about the history of the Ethiopian country. Now, I will also share that I'm definitely, my heart goes out definitely to the Tigray people who are experiencing unfortunate violence right now. I don't want to go too much into it, unfortunately, or not unfortunately, but I won't go too much into it in this particular video. But I think it's important that if I'm doing a video about my time spent in Ethiopia, that I do acknowledge the crisis that's going on right now in the country. So I wanted to say that my heart is with the Tigray people. I'm really praying for peace. And I actually did a small video on this a little while back in terms of like, just what's been going on there in terms of like the ethnic clashes and struggles with the people of Ethiopia. And I'm just really, really praying for a peaceful reconciliation. I know a lot of people are wondering what's going on with their family members and are really, really concerned and worried because they haven't heard from many of them. And I can't imagine what that feels like. So I just want to take time and acknowledge that my heart is with those people. And I really hope that a resolution comes swiftly to that situation. So without further ado, I'm going to literally watch in real time with you and react to my videos that I took during my time visiting Ethiopia.
That time Addis was bush,
Mm-hmm.
when King
When he was
Menelik was there.
Mhm.
Addis was bush. Very interesting place.
Sorry?
Very interesting place where we are going now.
Yeah.
Historical place.
So Jonas was my driver for my tour and my time around Ethiopia or Addis Ababa. He was so knowledgeable about the history of Ethiopia. He was first of all, he was just like a sweetheart. I have his phone number, but every time I text him, it's like the number doesn't work for whatever reason. It's really frustrating because I would love to continue to stay in touch with him. But he was so knowledgeable. He was so funny. It was great spending time with him, and he was probably the best tour guide that someone could ask for in terms of like getting acquainted with the country. So that's what you're hearing in the background.
Just one ceremony is 3 cups
So that equals to
times
one.
9 cups. Can you imagine?
But if you drink 3 of these, it's equal to like a mug that we drink in America.
Yes,
so
yes.
it's okay.
Yeah, where are you? Kanan, sir. Without sugar or with sugar?
With sugar.
Just one. It's too much, this one?
No, that's good.
Yeah.
I love coffee. I have tried, especially for this past year, to reduce my intake of coffee because it's not great for anxiety and stress. But I am a connoisseur and a deep appreciator, if that's a word, of the drink coffee. So when I found out about the coffee ceremony that happens in Ethiopia, I was like, that needs to be something that I do. But I was not prepared for how caffeinated their coffee is or how strong it is, and what reaction my body was going to have to it. So long story short, the taste of the coffee was exquisite. It was so smooth, so delectable. I don't even know how to describe it. It literally was like silk, like I was drinking silk. If you can imagine what it's like to drink the smoothest linen possible ever and have it be tasty as well, that is what Ethiopian coffee is. But fun story. So I drank it, enjoyed it, didn't really feel any difference about it at the time, right? Then I got back home to where I was staying with my aunt and uncle. And then I remember in the middle of the night, I could not go to sleep. I was like up for, I want to say at least 3 hours, just staring into the dark void, wondering how I was going to be able to get some rest, if at all, because it was just like, I was wired, wired. So I would not recommend it for the faint of heart. If you are someone who is very sensitive to caffeine or any kind of like stimulant, because caffeine is actually a drug. So if you are seriously affected by any kind of stimulant drug, you don't want to take it. But if you are a coffee lover like me, I think it's worth the experience. It was so delicious. And this is a beautiful ceremony, I think, and it's just like another quintessential example of the thing that I love about being African, and just this like emphasis on community. So the coffee ceremony is a forced habit within the Ethiopian culture for bringing people together and making sure that people are taking a time to take a break from work, which is very hard for me to do. And I do this 3 times a day. So kudos to them. They force themselves to take a break, and they also force themselves to come together in community, talking with one another, and slowing down the pace of the day, in terms of the way that the coffee is served and is prepared, like intentionally doing it very slowly, to take time to just take a beat and appreciate experiencing one another. And I just think that that's just, again, so gorgeous and so beautiful about us as African people. And not something you see at all in the States. It's like go, go, go. If you can eat while you're walking to your next meeting and consume the food finished by then, great. That's actually what we appreciate more. But I'm so happy to know that that's not my culture. That's not my where my lineage comes from. My lineage dictates taking a beat to appreciate one another, and that the collective is more important than the individual.
Yeah, he will show you the way to back down. There is a better view of the city. He knows the place.
Oh, okay.
ስትወርድ ኩርባህ ላይ ግን ዛሬ አዲስ አበባ ልክ አይደለም. It's not clear, very hazy. I think you feel a bit the altitude.
Yes, a lot.
It's thin air, but it's clean.
This is Prime Minister got a prize, no?
Yes, the Nobel Peace.
Yeah. Also our president here, a woman.
Yep, I remember.
Yeah.
የመጀመሪያው ፕሬዝዳንት ሳለ ያሪክ ከሽግግር መንግስቱ በኋላ ሽግግር መንግስት.
So one thing that was abundantly clear about those people that I interacted with while I was in Ethiopia, especially at the museums, is that they are so unapologetically excited about being African and about specifically being Black, which I just loved. I adored. So Ethiopia, if you're not familiar, is the only country in Africa that was independent throughout. It was never colonized, even though it was occupied for a couple of years. It was never officially colonized by any other country. And I think that they, from that specifically, they hold a deep sense of pride as Africans. But also, I just really appreciate the fact that, because it's a political thing too, in terms of like the difference between how, for example, Northern Africans versus Sub-Saharan Africans identify with each other. Like this whole politics of North Africans sometimes identifying more, or allegedly, I'll just say that, identifying more as Arabs versus Africans, depending on how advantageous it might be for them. And I feel like Ethiopia can sometimes be on that cusp because of the way that they present, right? Not every person who is of Ethiopian descent visibly looks like a quote unquote Black person, right? So the fact that no matter what kind of skin tone or what spectrum they were in terms of like their physical appearance, every single Ethiopian that I interacted with, including my tour guides that were part of the museum tours that I went on, were unapologetically identifying as Black. They were like, we are the Black man. We are African and we are proud of it. And to be honest with you, that just gave me a source of pride and really made me excited even more to be in the country. And then on top of that, just the history of the lineage of leaders that were in charge of ruling the country, and just their regality and their just like looking at their pictures, you just got a sense of like authority. And that's not an image that you see a lot as experiencing the Black experience in outside of the continent of Africa, whether it be in the United States, where I was born and raised, or maybe in the UK, wherever you might be tuning in from. But I can talk from the African or Black person growing up in America. It's a total 180, right? You almost feel like you're just always the bottom rung, right? You don't see yourself in a position of pride and authority like I did when I went to go see the wall of all the lineage of leaders that were that came down the line of Ethiopia's history. So that on top of just this continuous persistent identity of we are African and we are Black and we stand with our Black brothers and sisters was such an immense encouragement to me during my trip.
Wie man sieht hier, der innere Teil der Küche ist, das ist das ist für
Christ wasn't be like that. Sorry? Our Lord never been like that. It was made, yes.
I know. So my favorite part of touring Addis Ababa was seeing all the historical churches. It's no secret if you follow me on social media that I am a devout Christian. That's just my personal faith. I respect all faiths, and I have a grandfather who is of the Islamic faith. So I really have an appreciation for different perspectives in that regard. But as a Christian, it was so beautiful to explore the history of that faith, and again, how the Ethiopian people tie their lineage directly to King David and the Abrahamic, lineage, or the Abrahamic genealogy, right? And they tell the story so beautifully in the artwork that is in all the different ancient churches that they have across the city. I didn't get to see the oldest of the churches, which I believe is called Entoto. That's not in Addis Ababa, but hopefully when I get to go back to the continent, I'll make sure that's my first place that I'm going to. It's like an underground church is in the ground. And I just love and appreciate those kind of historic sites. But the ones that I did get to see were just as gorgeous, just as beautiful in terms of the stained glass work, the artistry, and the paintings that were there. Getting to see the different relics and also the tombs of Haile Selassie and different leaders that were important to the country. So yeah, it was extremely beautiful, and it was my favorite part of my journey, my 3-day journey. Although it was very, very packed with a lot of things, it was very short, but it was packed with a lot of experiences. And my favorite experiences was definitely seeing the historical church sites.
document of the emperor and the empress.
Wow. It's kind of dark, but
You can go in and walk around.
okay.
I'm not that Ang daming Let's see, being baptized
Oh, wow.
by Philip the Apostle.
Oh, it's Philip.
Yeah.
I got it wrong.
Yeah, no problem.
Wow. Jonas is really the best. He was my professional photographer, videographer, and tour guide, everything. So he took me to what I believe is the oldest injera restaurant in Addis Ababa, if not in Ethiopia. And I was never a fan of injera. We have quite a bit of Ethiopian restaurants here in the States, especially in Harlem, New York. New York is where I'm from, but I'm from Brooklyn. But in Harlem, there are a lot of Ethiopian restaurants there that I've frequented. And I was never really a fan of injera, which is the sourdough bread, or I guess you can call it like a sourdough bread, but it's like a fermented bread that they use to eat their different meats and other foods in a platter. Just because it felt like it was just tasted too sour for me. There was something off about it for me. But then when I got to Ethiopia, I couldn't get enough of it. And I think it has to do with just like the way that things are grown and harvested there and then prepared there versus the way they are processed and have so many additives here in the United States. And that's just my opinion. I have no facts to back this up. Feel free to tell me in the comments if you're from Ethiopia why it tastes so much better in Ethiopia than it does in the United States, what your thoughts are. But I couldn't get enough of it. I was so full by the time I left that restaurant. And then I got home and I had to eat because the chef had already prepared dinner for me. And I was like, oh my God, but I'm already stuffed. So I just had to do it. But yeah, the injera there was authentic, delicious, tasty. And that was at the time where I was still eating meat. So I loved the lamb, the freshness of it all. Just knowing that like the way it was prepared was just like, there wasn't all of this concern about what's going to happen to me if I ingested it. Now that I'm in the States, I have unfortunately gone to a vegan diet because I'm just so worried about the supply chain of food here. If you know, you know. But I was so excited to enjoy authentic injera and all the different platters that came along with eating that meal. Now, Jonas also was very happy to get me drunk off of honey wine, which tastes like nothing, right? It just tastes like kind of like juice when you drink it. But boy, does it sneak up on you. Boy, does it sneak up on you. So if you ever go to Ethiopia and someone offers you honey wine, take your time with it. Usually they're gonna offer. It seems like they will offer you a pitcher rather than just like a glass, which is what Jonas did. And I was like, dude, I have to go make sure I get back home in one piece. But it was definitely delicious. It's just, again, I just really appreciate our culture. I appreciate us as a people and just like what we are able to create from our culture, and how it's just like not replicated anywhere else in the world. So yeah, my food in Ethiopia was highly enjoyable.
Oh, okay, now it's recording, yeah.
It's supposed to be picture.
So Unity Park, visiting that area, it was quite emotional. There were a lot of relics from not just the modern time of Ethiopia, so maybe like from 1900s forward. There was also some history behind, the legend of the Queen of Sheba, and King Solomon of Israel potentially mating and creating the Christian lineage from Ethiopia, as well as, or the lineage of Solomon is what I think it is. I think Solomon is considered to be the child of Queen of Sheba and King David. I'm sorry. Either way, I digress. So they talk about the pre-biblical or the biblical times of Ethiopian history, but they also do talk about the civil war that happened and the dirge regime, which was where there was ethnic clashes, again, in terms of the war within the country of Ethiopia.
ሁለት ሶስት ዓመት ቆየ በኋላ ነገሮቹ እየተቃለሉ ሲሄድ እኔም ተውኩና እነሱም ነገር ተውኩት። ከዛ በኋላ ስራዬን ያው ጀመርኩ። ቆጠር ሌላ መስራት ጀመርኩ። ትምህርት ከዛ እየቀጠልኩ ሰባተኛ ክፍል አጠናቀቅኩ። የስከዛ በኋላ መማሮች ጀምሮ እጄ ፓራላይዝ ስለሆነ ብዙ መቀጠል ሚዛን መከታተል የቶሎ ችግር ለብቻ ሶስት አሁን ሶሻል
Many people were executed. Many people were put in camps where they were pushed into forced labor. And then also at some point, Haile Selassie was assassinated, who was the last the last emperor of Ethiopia, and who's also considered to be the sort of like a religious figure of the Rastafarian faith. So all that being said, watching the videos of survivors of the dirge regime was very emotional. It was interesting that the current Prime Minister Ahmed decided to transform this area that used to be only the location of where the head of state, the prime minister, and like people of government would converge. He decided to turn it instead into a place where we can explore this history. and I guess wrestle with what happened as a result of that time period. Is quite interesting also because of just what's happening right now again, which is what I alluded to earlier when I was talking about the Tigray situation. All that being said, just not to make it too political, it was very emotional to experience that and watch the videos of people testifying as to the torture that they went through, and then how they were just trying to continue with life afterwards. Definitely appreciated being taken there. I'm sure that it's on the checklist of any tourist site to see if you're coming to Ethiopia, especially Addis Ababa for the first time. But for me, someone who is a proud Pan-African woman and who really appreciates understanding her history and what her ancestors, wherever country they might have been from on the continent of Africa, have gone through. It was definitely an eye-opener for me. And it's something that I wish that I wasn't just delving so deeply into as an adult. I wish that there was more education around what has happened in terms of the plight of different ethnic groups in Africa while I was a child, while I was still in school. Maybe, well, in the U.S. history or the U.S. education system, there's a lot going on as to why they don't talk about certain things. But maybe also on one hand, it was maybe people felt like it was too heavy for young people and they wanted to protect us from it. But as children of the diaspora, I think it's very important for us to learn this kind of history as the sooner the better, because I think that allows us to evolve into the leaders that potentially can support more positive change, not just on the continent of Africa, but wherever there are communities of Africans around the world. So I'll end my reflection video on this note that because number one, I went there for work, right? So I went there because I was scouting out different entrepreneurs who had startups that would potentially be of interest to investors that I was working with at the time, to match them up with. And it was also beautiful to sit and have dinner with my uncle, who at the time before he retired was again ambassador to Ethiopia on behalf of Nigeria. And just to hear the conversations that they had about the work that they're doing to transform the continent, or just elevate or push forth different work that the African Union, for example, because he was preparing, I believe at that time, for talks at the African Union to just the different agendas and initiatives that they had to promote on behalf of the African continent in terms of unity and collective, promotion of one another. And it was beautiful. It was really beautiful to experience that as someone who is a child of a diplomat and again has just always felt in the United States, even though I know that I have a grandfather who has this background and has worked with all these different presidents. In America, it's just like people just see your skin color and they just make an assumption about you. And then it's like only when you tell them what your background is and who you are, that they then maybe a little bit show you a sign of deference. And I really don't appreciate that. I feel that the way that the Ethiopian people just genuinely adopted me as their, fellow sister, fellow African sister, and we're just all about collective unity and community, is something that I strive every day to replicate, not just in my personal life, but just in the work that I'm doing with my consulting firm, Carfi, and then also the charitable arm that I have, which is the Carfi Foundation, making sure that I elevate the voices of African people who are doing amazing things, even with a very little, to edify their presence on the world stage, right? So this trip to Ethiopia really solidified that for me. It really gave me so much more confidence as a Black woman, as an African woman. I since I've been here in the United States for another year, I felt my confidence being tested and not always staying consistent. And I've just been having this yearning to go back to the continent and be there, where I just feel like I'm part of, I belong, right? And I've genuinely been reflecting on that a lot since March of 2020, infamously when the world shut down. So as I watch these videos, I just eagerly await the day where I can go back home. That's because I feel like Africa is home, and continue the work that I'm doing to highlight the amazing things that Africans have already done. Because again, the history of Ethiopia just is a testimony to it. So highlight the amazing things that Africans have already done, the amazing potential that they have yet to unlock, and the amazing things that people are trying to do right now to unlock that potential. And I hope that this video was inspiration to you too if you're thinking about going to the continent and visiting. I know a lot of people immediately say go to Ghana, or they have like very they immediately have certain countries that come to mind as recommendations, but I highly recommend Addis Ababa, and I highly recommend Ethiopia. Again, the only state in Africa to be totally independent from inception, from any kind of colonization, and rich history of kings, queens, and leaders that I think would empower us as a people. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I think this will be the second to last vlog. I'm not sure yet. I don't know how much more content I have from my time traveling, but if this is the last one, I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that this continues to inspire you, and please go around and check out the rest of my videos that I have on my channel, including my hashtag Sharpen Iron talks that I have with leaders in the field of promoting leadership development, and then also who are doing amazing projects on the continent of Africa. I did interview, for example, the assistant head architect of the Lagos Ibadan Railway, and she just talks about how to get into the type of work if you are someone who's interested in building infrastructure in Africa. I also have an amazing video with an author who wrote a book that I feel that those of us who are aspiring leaders in Africa really need to read, which is The Meritocracy Trap, and would give us a strong foundation for how we identify as leaders and how we see ourselves evolving in order for the better good of the continent of Africa. So please go watch those videos. And like I said, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you continue to see more videos that I upload about my journey with my work with the entrepreneurs on the continent of Africa, and then also how to personally develop as a leader, and also how to build the financial equity and the financial stability that you need to kind of do the work that I am doing as well. Thank you all for watching, and hope to see you again on this channel. Toodles.